Everyone, and welcome to another episode of Trek Talk with Tech and Kirk. I'm Techman16,
And I'm Strange Kirk.
and we also got.
RapterPvP.
Oh my God, who's that guy? We don't know. We just let him in. Anywho, Raptor, thanks for joining us. Um, let's talk about Star Trek Discovery, Season 3, Episode 10, Terra Firma Part 2. This is a continuation of the Giorgio arc, where she leaves us forever to start her other Section 31 based show in a nice and interesting way. Um, if you listen to my previous rant on this on part one, you notice that I mentioned the Guardian at or not the Guardian, but the city at the edge of forever, and I mentioned Q and I mentioned Carl. What did you guys think? How did you like the reveal that Carl was the guardian of the Well of Forever?
Well, I personally enjoyed the fact that they revealed that. It gave me the Star Trek original series kind of feel because it was in the original series, of course. And I was kind of glad that they kind of threw that throwback in there, made it feel more Star Trek-y.
Yeah, so they've done a lot of references to the original series on season three, even though it's been the years 3188 or 3189, long after everybody's dead. So it was an interesting kind of throwback. It is an award-winning episode. Probably only a handful of award-winning episodes ever appeared in Star Trek, and that was the one of the first ones. It was well written. How did you enjoy? How did you enjoy the Giorgio arc? Now, before I mentioned, this was basically a retelling of A Christmas Carol, where she was Scrooge and Carl was the ghost of Christmas past, and they're going back and revisiting the future. How did you enjoy that kind of uh, atmosphere? I guess.
Well, at first I didn't know how to take it. When I seen part one and she went back, it took me a minute to realize like what's going on. I mean, is she in a dream? Is she dead? Well, what's going on? It took me a minute to realize that she was sent back in the past and basically given a second chance to see how she would have done things a little bit differently. And I kind of enjoyed that because she took her experience with the other universe, the mirror, her considered mirror universe, and was trying to implement some of the changes into the Terran. So I really thought she did a good job trying to keep her composure and change how she was without letting on that she was trying to change the way the Terrans viewed everything. Um, I was super excited when I seen that she took Saru in under her own care from Michael Burnham, the Terran version of Michael Burnham.
Was that because Saru is a character that's grown on you, or is it you feel bad for the guy?
I, I'm gonna be honest. I had not really cared much for the Saru character in the first couple seasons, and I think that was mainly. Well, I didn't really care for him until he went the change.
Baharai.
The Vahari, and but then after that, I'm kind of excited to see because I liked how after the Vahari he got this new defense mechanism where he shoots these spikes out. And I'm hoping they implement that a little bit more because I can see them making him a total badass.
Well, he did use it in the Prime universe in episode 2, where he shot that the guy that was trying to attack them.
Yes. I was a little disappointed that it didn't do more damage, but but still, I thought it was cool how accurate. I guess that like automatically, just it's like auto aim. I guess so. I thought it was pretty cool.
Sure. So Kirk, you've been kind of critical of the show for since the beginning. How did you enjoy the Giorgio self-contained story within the overall season of Discovery?
I mean, I enjoyed her storyline. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I continue to watch the show. The only other real reason is because I kind of have to. I'm kind of content creators and Star Trek fans, and I really need to. I hate it when people only watch one episode of something, and then they'll go around and they trash talk, and they say, "Oh, this show's terrible." Oh, okay, well, which episode did you on this episode? Well, I didn't even make it that far. That's how terrible it was. It's like, okay, well, you can't really give a full educated opinion unless you've watched the whole thing. So that's one of the big reasons I watched this dumpster fire. But the past 2 episodes are pretty good. I enjoyed it. I enjoy her character. And of course, Michelle Yeoh, right? That's who that is.
That's her name.
That's right, Michelle Yeoh. I mean, she's definitely a wonderful actress, in anything she's in. She does an excellent job of kind of sort of embracing the idea of what Terrans are, and the ruthlessness, and the even going back to one of the earlier episodes where she was kind of she ended up having a threesome with these people, and and it's definitely it's Terrans are basically humans without that little problem that we have, our conscience. But the episodes are great. I think the only issue that I had with the episodes was really Michael Burnham, the Shatner-esque overacting and lack of variety and emotional responses. The yell whispering, it was just kind of cringy, and I didn't care for it. But I mean, everybody else did an amazing job. It was great. I really wish that we could see more of that, and I hope that we see more of that in the future, more from the Terran universe, the Mirror universe. And yes, that's pretty much it. So I don't really have much negative to say about these past 2 episodes. So pretty much positive.
I'm actually the one thing I gotta commend Discovery on is the fact that they even undertook the fact that they're going to try and go into the Terran universe, because I remember in the original series, when Spock and Kirk, they were transporting, and then all of a sudden Terran versions of that came on. It made me really interested to see what that world or that universe seemed like, and I think Discovery did a good job portraying that whole universe. They did not let me down aspect of it.
Did you enjoy the DS9 and the Enterprise episodes with the alternate universe?
To be honest, I can't really. I had to rewatch them. It's so long. I don't really remember too much of it.
Okay, all right. So some of the episodes were the Klingon-Cardassian alliance, where Worf was the regent, Kira was the intendant, Garrick was out for himself. There was the whole storyline about them getting a cloak, or the rebels being Smiley.
Oh yeah, I just watched that episode today where Quark and Rom are trying to tote this fucking cloaking device through the halls. And they get caught. Like, what are you doing? They're just staring at a bulkhead.
Like, you like this? You like this color? It's gray. I like gray.
He's like Rom's thinking of painting his quarters this color. They're already this color. See, I told you.
It was DS9 was a little more of a goofy take on the alternate universe. I enjoyed the Enterprise version where they discover the Defiant from the Tholian web, the original
Yeah.
series episode, the Land Web, and then they used that to take control, and then Hoshi Sato poisoned Jonathan Archer to become Empress. Interesting. She called herself Empress, whereas Georgiou calls herself Emperor, or they call her Emperor. Um, and they do a Discovery does a callback because I can't remember her full name, but there's a Japanese kind of connotation where I forget the word imponious. Imponious is a Japanese phrase that probably made its way from Empress Sato to Emperor Georgiou. Um, what really I enjoyed about the alternate universe was uh, just how Star Trek it was. And people are going to be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" But just hear me out. If anybody's watched Voyager or Deep Space Nine or The Next Generation, there's a clear sense of hierarchy and order. Somebody is captain, somebody's at the top, somebody makes command. Those people delegate tasks to other people, and that's how the system works. In Discovery, the Prime Discovery, now that Georgiou is gone, and Tig Notaro is only appearing once every blue moon, you just have a crew full of Wesley Crushers and Reginald Barclays. There's no real sense of order. So to me, it was nice to see. Okay, Georgiou's at the top. Uh, her slave, but she delegated commands to her slave in Saru. She delegated commands to Burnham. She delegated commands to Killy. Killy then delegated commands to the bridge crew to go warp, open channels. Just like that's just Star Trek. It's just Star Trek.
You,
None
you
of
know,
this.
you knew who was who in the hierarchy of things.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean it's the Discovery as a whole. I absolutely understand what you're saying. It's one of those who's on first kind of things.
So I went to the official Star Trek Discord, and there's a lot of people that like Discovery, and people that do like Discovery, and it's a really crazy divide about how much people hate Discovery and how much people love Discovery. And the people that love Discovery love it on the basis of we're a family, we're all in it together, kumbaya kind of thing. It's not in the paramilitary style that Starfleet is.
My issue, and I've said this before, is that so many of the people that love the show, they feel like everybody else should. Whereas so many people that hate the show are like, I hate it, but I mean, if you like it, that's fine. And that's what I'm seeing. And of course, that's how I feel. I don't like the show. I think for the most, it's garbo. But if you enjoy it, then like by all means. To me, just like in the fitness world, I'm a bodybuilding coach, but I also believe that at the root, it's getting moving and exercising. So if CrossFit gets you doing that, if marathon running, cycling, swimming, whatever gets you moving and getting healthy, to me, that's the most important. Same thing in Star Trek. Whatever gets you in the door to enjoying Star Trek, I don't care what show it is. Even if you, for some reason, like the animated series from the 70s over everything. If that gets you into the Star Trek universe, I'm all for it and I will support it. But there are too many people that are like, I've seen these conversations, and it's well, I don't really like Discovery. Oh, you must be a racist or something outrageous like that, and you're like, what? What does that even mean? What are you even talking about? So it's like it seems like a lot of the people that like it feel like you have to like it, but a lot of people that don't like it, they could care less.
All right, so let's. I want to come back to the Guardian for a sec. First of all, I
The
think
Guardian of Forever.
there you go. You even got the voice down. More robotic though, but the Guardian, Carl, played by Paul Guilfoyle, veteran actor.
Carl. like
Carl.
like you get to the end of the universe and there's Q and Carl.
Right. Next thing we know, there's a higher entity, and their names are M. But anyways, So they kind of retconned the Well of Forever, if you will. Um, Originally, if I remember correctly, and Kirk, feel free to correct me because you're more the TOS aficionado, is that the well, or at least the portal, you cannot you can go through it, but you cannot. You know, the portal itself couldn't do all these things. It couldn't change the time stream or anything for you. You have to go through it, and you have to go fix whatever you messed up.
Exactly.
If I remember correctly.
And
But
it was a cycle, right? So you couldn't just think about, oh, I want to go here and go through it. You had to time it right.
right, okay. So in Discovery, what they did is they put a guardian who basically sent Giorgio into a uh kind of, I don't know if it was fictional. And it's okay because it's kind of like a mystery at this point, but into a different time stream of the alternate universe to be weighed. I want to get your thoughts on whether you think that was a good retcon or not.
Um. So if I enjoyed it. I'm a stickler for the original series. Um, being utilized correctly. But I enjoyed it. I mean, this is an example where this is a time where I would accept. This is an example of a time that I would accept someone saying, the technology of the time and taking a little bit of artistic liberty. I would accept that in this instance, because you needed a vessel, a person, an entity, a way of explaining why you're going to go through the portal. They couldn't just show up on the planet and be like, "Oh, you must need to go through this portal now." No, that's not really going to happen. They're like, oh, "Okay, that's interesting." They needed a way to explain it. They needed a way to kind of bridge that gap. So I thought it was done in a very tasteful way. I thought it was done very well. They, like I said, took some artistic liberties. They kind of changed how the portal worked, but at the same time, then that was one episode in the original series, and they really didn't explain all that much about it. You know what I mean?
Sure,
And
understandable.
right, so you can do that, right? There's not a bunch of established canon with that, so I think it was all right.
Raptor, how about you?
I feel the same way. Of course, that was one of my favorite episodes in the original series. Is when they went back through there. I actually didn't realize it was the well until the very end of the episode when it actually appeared. And it made my brain start thinking. I was like, so this thing can move from planet to planet whenever this guy decides to move somewhere. I didn't realize that, and it kind of made me start thinking about it. I was like, I guess I didn't cover that in the original series. But I didn't really think too much about it. I just enjoyed it, that episode, and I didn't really look at the minor details or think about all that at the time.
Okay. In that case, let me pick your brain about the way they got to the planet. Now, if you're truly hardcore Trek fan, you'll tell me that Tech, every episode in Star Trek the original series, there's a new super powerful entity that they encountered and could do all sorts of things. And you have to suspend your disbelief because they're all highly powerful, whether it be the Trelane or the Metrons or Yarnak, the lava monster that created Surak and Abraham Lincoln, or you had
the Greek, the god,
yeah, Apollo the Greek god. I mean, like every week it was just some crazy entity that had ridiculous powers.
Yep.
Yeah, you'd say, and I'd say, yeah, you're absolutely right. You have to suspend your disbelief. What I want to get to is how they got the information to go to this planet. And that
Okay,
was
that
revealed to be
was
Sphere data or whatever.
the
sphere
sphere
data.
data that extrapolated where it would move to, even though the Well of Forever wasn't encountered until Kirk, which was after Burnham had already left the universe, go to the future. How did you feel about that particular plot point?
Well, you're talking about even the representation of the Guardian of Forever, which is the portal. Carl, fucking Carl. You couldn't have come up with a better fucking. Just don't even give him a name. Just the guard. I'm a guy. It's what guys look like. So anyway, moving on. Even though even he had mentioned temporal wars and stuff like that. So anytime you're talking about time travel, any sort of timeline, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who came when and what did what, right? I mean, they could have referenced in that timeline. They could have referenced Picard. They could have referenced Deep Space Nine. They could have referenced anything they wanted to reference at any time, because you're talking about time travel. So to me, is it a cheap way of being able to kind of get around establishing believable canon? Yeah. But it also, the fact of the matter is that time travel had been a thing within several of the shows. So it's not exactly a new concept. So I don't see any reason to be upset about it.
Well, you also got to remember the sphere has been around for millions or hundreds of millions of years before all this. So who's to say that the sphere hasn't encountered the Guardian before?
Yeah.
I guess so. We don't know too much about it except that it's going to evolve into a person named Zora. That's all we know about it, and that it likes to play Enterprise style movies on the bridge of the Discovery or in the mess hall.
Yeah. But I mean, that was the whole purpose of the sphere getting to the Discovery, was because it had all those years of data and everything. So something that intelligent that's been around for that long. I mean, it's hard to say what it has and hasn't seen. I mean, really, we could speculate that it's seen the beginning of time.
According to Memory Alpha, it weighs 6.39 times 10 to the 20th power kilograms. And does it say it's been around? Core temperature of over 10,000, over 10 to the 6th Kelvin. That's pretty hot. Doesn't say how old it is. Oh, wait. Initial scans suggest the sphere is 100,000 years old, and 100,000 years of data is later said to be collected from it, which will it take to sift through? Okay, so it's 100,000 years old.
Okay, 100,000.
I do remember
100,000.
them saying 100,000 years.
Yeah.
All right. Do you think Discovery can handle that much data? Does the computer have that much available core memory?
Well, if it's only 100,000 years old, I mean, Earth is older than that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. Think about how much you could take an entire day's worth of pictures, and how much space would it take up on your hard drive, depending on the camera that you use. Now multiply that by 100 million days.
Yeah,
You
I
have that
think
kind
it should have used up all the memory on the Discovery. And then some, probably.
of. Well, then again, Star Trek has always had these weird kind of obsessions with quantum data. Because what was it? The USS Enterprise D contained the entire data for the planet of the Binars. So, because their sun went supernova and they had to protect it from the electromagnetic pulse.
Well, even Commander Data had ridiculous amount of memory.
Oh yeah. And then the Doctor, his ever expanding holographic matrix. So I guess it's possible. Just trying to throw out details that I've kind of noticed as I was watching the show. And again, I think this was a great two-parter within the framework of the season. Uh,
I think it should have been a season finale.
why do you think that?
Well, typically what Star Trek does when they do two-parters, it's the episode before the finale. So the fact that they did a two-parter now and they're still going to continue on with, what, 2 or 3 more episodes before the end of the season, unless the next 2 or 3 episodes are going to be two-parters as well, I feel that the way that ended, it would have been a good end for the season and then start off the next season where it left off.
I can see that.
Before, when there was 22, 23 episodes a season, there used to be like a mid-season parter and then like a cliffhanger. But since it's serialized, it felt a little out of place just because it's in the cog of the burn and all these weird other storylines.
The burn. Why do they care so much about the burn right now? That's what I don't understand.
Well, I'm going to try and defend Discovery here, which is a little bit hard for me to do, but they want to, at least in my opinion, the 21 executive producers want to put a mystery that keeps people engaged every week about what is this? What is this? It's kind of like how they did with.
It's a content filler, man. That's all it is.
Well, they kind of did it with the Red Angel, right? The Red Angel turned out to be just idiotic waste of time for what it was.
Yeah, I agree.
Because there was, again, each season has like 20 producers, right? So you got too many cooks in the kitchen. In season 2, you had at first you had 7 signals that supposedly posed a threat to the Federation, and that's why the Enterprise had to go. That's why the Enterprise wasn't part of the war, and it turned out to be it's just Burnham's mother in a spacesuit asking for help, I guess, from the future. And so now you have this mystery, this intrigue, that the same kind of formula that a certain subset of Star Trek fans that are Discovery fans found that very enjoyable. It's the same kind of formula, right? A whole overarching mystery throughout the entire season, to keep people engaged. Why are we going to the planet Trill? Why are we going to Earth? Why are we going to Starfleet headquarters? It's the burn. Everything is about the burn. We have to figure out the burn, because if we can't figure out the burn, we can't fix the Federation. It's just,
Why can't they implement the spore drive into all the other ships?
now you're trying to think logically.
I mean, they have that technology now, and they have even more technology. I mean, they found materials that they've been using back in the primitive times that they found out are programmable.
Programmable matter, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
And now that they've reconfigured the consoles so that Stamets doesn't have to inject himself to navigate, any person should be able to navigate the cosmos.
Exactly.
Even Dr. Chaotica. To rule the cosmos and the 8th dimension.
And this is another thing that bothers me. If all dilithium went inert, how is there dilithium left?
Listed almost all.
The ones that went inert and blew up are the ones that had an active warp bubble, I would assume.
Probably.
That's right. So the active warp bubble. So it's kind of interesting. I'm gonna veer off topic and then we'll come back to this episode. But kind of but me doing some discussions with people on the Star Trek Discord, we were debating: are the Borg still alive in 3189? What do you guys think?
The Borg?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're around.
Oh, I'm sure.
Why? Why do you think that?
Dude, they're spread so far throughout the fucking galaxy.
Right. So here's my take, and the reason why I was debating heavily that the Borg are dead is because if an event happened, then and dilithium went kaboom, and the Borg who don't use dilithium power their warp drives will have an easy pickings of the galaxy. It wouldn't. They could not be stopped.
You're also relying on good writing, which we can't do.
Yeah.
So that's neither here nor there.
I'm only relying on canon. Whatever canon has said, and again, even if Discovery contradicts canon, which you could argue it does or it doesn't, it's all canon. So using what
Discovery needs to be part of memory beta. I said what I said.
Sure, I don't agree. I don't disagree with you. Or Discovery or the J.J. Abrams verse would be its own timeline. That's fine with me too. I don't have a problem with that. But I'm just saying, utilizing established canon. Right? The Borg do not use dilithium. They use transwarp conduits with. They have to use like these temporal stabilizers, so it stays in temporal sync as it warps through space. So if warp capable ships, let's assume that the Romulans use warp drive or dilithium for their warp drive. If all of that blew up, and dilithium is very scarce and nobody can use warp very well, then the Borg would have their fill of the galaxy. Like they would really be unopposed. If the Federation really falls apart and all their ships blow up and they don't have enough resources to man everything. I mean, how many times have the Borg salivated, trying to assimilate Earth? Couldn't get it done because of Janeway or Picard or whatever.
And of course, the burn only happened a little over 100 years ago, so maybe the Borg don't know it happened yet.
Again,
or maybe we're talking about content that might be coming up.
Oh, sure, it's possible. Season 4 could be all about the Borg
and the Vidar and collecting Borg nanoprobes.
Destroying Borg ships to collect Borg nanoprobes to refine them.
Yeah, and then we'll find Jayla, a Borg Jayla.
There you go. You have to refine the Borg nanoprobes that you get from the cubes. Oh, I'm sorry. No, what am I saying? This is Discovery. It's very gruesome. So the way you have to recover the nanoprobes is you have to drill into the head of each drone and make sure all the bloods and the gore come out, and then collect all their cortical nodes. If you don't know what I'm talking about, watch Star Trek Picard.
I did watch Picard. I don't know what your problem was with it.
It's just a gruesome representation of, let me just drill into somebody's eye to take off their implant.
We also need to acknowledge the fact that Amorgin jumped in with us.
Yeah, man, Amorgin, you're the negative Nelly today. What, if at all, did you like about Terra Firma Part 2?
Well, whenever you're ready, buddy.
He's gathering his thoughts.
I think his silence says everything.
Good talk.
All right. Coming back to the burn, right? They had some more information about the burn. They used what is it? An enhancer, a subspace enhancer of, what is it? Subspace signals to find that they could hack into the ship that is trapped in the nebula where it caused the burn. We're getting close to the point where we actually discover how the burn is created. Let's take some guesses. How do you think it was done? Because it's the most annoying mystery of the show.
I'm going to say ancient aliens.
With Giorgio Tsoukalos?
Yes.
Okay, so Giorgio Tsoukalos caused the burn.
Yes, his hair created a static electricity
that destroyed all dilithium.
And he touched a plastic slide on the playground in the wintertime.
Oh my god.
I'm happy that you're happy.
Oh my god. That show is so ridiculous, but it totally fits.
Sorry, lads, I was lurking in the background there, rolling the smoke, listening to your shit talk. I was on mute for a little bit of the time. I was giving out to you and you didn't hear me.
Well, yeah, you still had the mute button on. I'm sure you were screaming at us, but we couldn't hear you.
Yeah. Probably just as well you didn't hear what I had to say. Like, I'm fucking. I'm not even thinking about Discovery anymore, lads. I'm overwhelmed with the season finale of The Mandalorian. Fucking Discovery's at the back of my head, to be honest with you. Fucking
Isn't the Mandalorian an infinitely better show than, I don't know, any new Star Trek show?
It goes to show what they can do when they've got people who know what they're at the helm. Disney have fucked up Star Wars, and I don't mean to be going into a Star Wars thing, but Disney have fucked up Star Wars. Jon Favreau and these kind of guys come along, they do their own fucking thing, they get in proper quality, and they fucking deliver on it. Like the only problem I've had with the fucking Mandalorian is Katie Sackhoff is in it. Ever since I seen her that sci-fi show that she produced, I just went, nope, not for me. But and I was already pissed off enough that fucking they cast her in Battlestar Galactica, like, instead of fucking somebody that actually represented the character. But anyway, yeah, Mandalorian, like, it goes to show what they can do if they want to.
Yeah, I haven't seen the second season of Mandalorian yet. I've been waiting.
Don't want to do no spoilers on you, Raptor. I don't know if we've met before and how you doing. If we haven't, like, but
no,
they really
the
tie
first
it
time
in
we
with
met.
Star Wars. They do what, well, I don't know about anybody else, but they done what I wanted them to do with it. I started to see things in the Mandalorian that I was going, it's about time I'm seeing this shit.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the first season of The Mandalorian, and it actually made me excited. I wish they would do more Star Wars like that. And I totally agree. Disney fucked up Star Wars bad.
Go and check out season 2, man. It's the best advice I can give you.
I plan on doing that.
Don't
Thank
forget. You. Don't forget. The Alex Kurtzman, J.J. Abrams people took over Star Wars. So there might be a trend.
That's it too. Did you guys see the video that I posted? I don't know if I should be mentioning it. Where did I put it? Let me see. Some other guy done a video on it. This Overlord DVD. Have you seen that?
Sounds very
fucking
familiar.
Love I fucking love his take. He's basically saying that Star Trek Discovery admits that it's not real Trek.
I did see the video.
He goes into all this shit about, like, the timelines, how this is a spin-off of like, this is an alternative universe of an alternative universe. I
really went into his premise. So effectively what he's saying is, in the scene where David Cronenberg, or Kovic, the dude with the glasses, he basically said when Lieutenant Yor crossed over from the Kelvin timeline into the Prime universe, or the Prime Discovery universe, that kind of he died because the universes are drifting apart. And through careful listening of his words, if you're a devious enough lawyer, you can utilize those words and come up with the same conclusion, where it's an alternative timeline to the Prime timeline of the Kelvin timeline.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. Yeah,
which you can, but I still reject the premise of his conclusions.
You really want Discovery being recognized as legit along the lines of the rest of it?
I would not want that.
look.
I'll take listen. If it takes a clever liar to play with some words to prove that it's not, I'll go with that. You know.
I don't really like lawyers, but yeah.
What was it?
At least it would make more sense.
Jesus, what's that movie, a Disney movie called Luck of the Irish, where Timothy O. Mudson was he's just like, I'll take that charm down, Boyle. You didn't beat me. It's like, what are you talking about? We tied. Yeah, but a tie's not beating me.
I'd go with that. Yeah, I'd go with that.
Or some shit like that. Where look, again, to me, there's the Berman verse, which includes the Roddenberry vision, and there's the Abrams verse. Whether they're all canon, look, you could say yes, no. Hardcore Discovery haters will say fuck no. Hardcore Discovery lovers will say fuck yeah, it's Star Trek. At some point it becomes immaterial. It's got the Star Trek name. It's owned by the same
Bring
entity.
on the social justice.
Right, yeah. The alphabet, the alphabet representation.
Yeah, you see, that's the thing. The audience, I'm perfectly okay with Discovery having its audience, being up there, being shown, whatever. Like, I have no problem. But don't pretend that it is related to me. You know what I mean? These are like cousins that are so far out related, but I've just inherited a fucking fortune. Now all of a sudden they're the closest fucking family that I've got. You're not related to me. Yes, okay. If we trace back the lineage, we can find connections. Okay. But to be honest with you, there's a lot of other sci-fi out there that's inspired by Star Trek that's more like Trek than this. And
Orville.
Yeah, and other stuff, other unique in inverted commas stuff, that was inspired by Trek. And I'm watching season 5 of The Expanse. It's a million miles away from what you get from watching Trek, because it's trying to be a little bit more realistic, set in the nearer future, I suppose. And it's actually probably not near future, but it's a bit more realistic in terms of what we now know about existence, about where the fuck we are in the universe. We haven't really got the capacity to get beyond the solar system. Unless something fucking game changing happens, we won't get beyond this solar system in the next 200 years. But we might colonize it in some shape or form. That's fair enough. Alien fucking species and technology, well, that maybe we might discover something, but the chances are it's either a long dead civilization or it's something that's just like fucking, it's not even a civilization, it's just like fucking microbes that exist, that's life beyond our planet. I can't see anything from Trek being realistic. So The Expanse is a very, very different buzz when you're watching it for me, but it's sci-fi. And I'm sure the sort of nerds I'd be talking to that love that would be raving about all of these elements in it that attract them to it, because what they're trying to deliver to you is authentic. Trek, for its time, was delivering something to you that they weren't trying to convince you that the latest fucking, I don't know, they used to have this thing in the script of Star Trek where it was like, insert all of these words in here. There'd be some malfunction with some part of something, and it's like, insert all of these words, and it'll all sound fancy, and people will buy it because it's some far-flung technology that we don't understand. But that's not what we're there to watch. That's fluff. That's fillers. We're not there really to worry about. Personally, I'm not really that worried about how dilithium works, right? Because dilithium doesn't fucking exist. So I don't give a fuck how dilithium works. So I don't give a fuck when all of the dilithium fucking disappears off the face of the earth. But what I care about is the story that surrounds that and the message that they're trying to deliver, which is usually challenging the status quo. It's usually challenging things that need to be said at the time, but you have to be sensitive to all parties. So you imagine a scenario that you can convey the message. This shit here is just pushing an agenda that's in your face. That's not what that's not what I'm about. Sorry for the rant, but I'm kind of done with Discovery. I will watch the last couple of episodes. But I'm kind of done with Discovery now because I've watched The Mandalorian. I'm stuck into The Expanse, and yeah, you might be related to me, but you're over there somewhere, and I don't necessarily want to spend Christmas with you.
So I kind of want to be you know, the Discovery advocate, I guess. Star Trek in the 90s, or even in the 60s, I feel was mainly for nerds. Like, you didn't want to reveal to people that, like, oh fuck, I watched Star Trek, man, because this is so awesome and shit like
Learning
that.
how to speak Klingon.
Right, yeah. You know, like, that's reserved for, like, introverts and, like, nerds, and they went to their conventions, and, you know, and the problem is, it got to a point where you had legitimate actors like Patrick Stewart that kind of brought it into the mainstream. And then, you know, they did push the envelope because of the studio pushback with Cisco being in charge. You know, how could you have a
I
black
would
man in
argue
charge?
different. Sorry, Techman. I would have to say different there. I don't think Patrick Stewart coming into the Star Trek thing was putting it mainstream at all. Patrick Stewart was unheard of in television.
By the time he was done,
By the time he was done, it was a different story. But like at the start, he was nobody. Like in terms of TV, like
what I'm trying to get at is, by the time 90s or 90s, the Berman verse was done, right? People at the end of TNG, like, you know, Michael Dorn and Marina Sirtis and Jonathan Frakes and Patrick Stewart became like megastars.
they had TV careers. Yeah.
Like they
Maybe
never had to
film
worry,
careers.
they never had to worry about work, right? Because they knew they'd get hired doing something, right? The thing would be is they were still stuck in that serious kind of nerd techno babble, like, we got to try to make sense of the thing, and, you know, meanwhile Star Trek was getting popularity. And so what it went from is, Star Trek went from this nerdy show that people liked about, you know, morality stories and science fiction, to something that had broad mass appeal, because you had all these movies that came out. Yeah, you had this Next Generation movies. It made a bunch of money. A bunch of people watched it overseas. So now you had a product, a brand that went mainstream. And
Yeah, but hold on a second. Well, the fundamental point in what Discovery is missing and what's disgraceful about Discovery, right, is when Patrick Stewart and all of them were hired, they weren't hired to make a broadly fucking digestible product that everybody's going to love. They were hired to fucking try and do justice to the legacy that was there, and to throw off the old and bring in the new. And they were fucking tasked with a very thankless fucking thing to do. You know, it was a very thankless task that to go in there and to replace Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock and things like that. There, these boys were fucking given a fucking poison chalice, like. Right? But they went in there, they had their fucking problems. They didn't set out to have mass appeal. They set out to try to actually fucking recreate something that had built a cult following, and stay true to that and do it in a new way. And because they tried so hard at doing that, they were persistent, they were eventually successful, because they knew who they needed to keep happy. They knew what they needed to do. These guys needed to step up to a fucking standard that just was at least on a par with what people expected from the original and from these guys. The bar was set so high for these guys that they were never going to achieve it, and they fucking did. These guys in Discovery were just fucking hired to go in there and have popular mass appeal, and they're not trying to live up to any fucking standards.
Well, that was my whole point. If you just would have let me finish.
Sorry.
I'm agreeing with you. Yeah, it was a legacy of morality stories and technobabble for a specific subset of people. And by the time it was done, it's a global brand name. And now whoever took it over, i.e. J.J. Abrams, now, because it's such a global brand, you have to appeal to the masses, because you can't rely on the old people to fund your, you know, happy Star Trek fantasies. You have to make it broad mass appeal. So you have to dumb it down, add more action scenes, add more, you know, like grandiose. And to me, that's what drives me crazy about the Abrams verse, is everything is so grandiose. Like, you look at Star Trek 2009, like a gigantic planet Vulcan was blown up because of some device or whatever. I don't even remember that dumb storyline. It was blown up, and for some reason Spock was watching from a moon, is watching a planet blow up, which you can't physically do in real physics world. Right? You can't see another planet from a moon. It's just not going to work. And all of a sudden,
But again, I don't buy the idea that there's any problem with that. That there's a red matter, and that this red matter is so fucking powerful that it will explode a planet. I don't have a problem with that. I have no more problem with that than the Death Star fucking was able to do the same thing. You know what I mean? I allow for a lot of these things. I don't need, like I said about the dilithium, I don't need to understand this. Give me the premise. This is what it does. We have this technology in the future, or in some fucking strange reality, and here you go. And I'll take that. That's okay, because I'm not looking at how the Death Star works practically and whether it's going to fit with my idea of. And I'm waiting to see the fucking rebels go and overthrow the Empire. Like, that's what I'm waiting to see. You know, these fucking things there about like the Abrams movie and all. It's nothing to do with the idea. Spock watching a planet fucking explode. 100%. I have no fucking problem with that. What I have a problem with, and to be fair to them, they tried to bring in a cast that could recreate the performances of those actors. You know, like some of them pulled it off. You know, I felt Shatner was okay. I felt Spock was okay. I didn't like Uhura. You know, I didn't like Scotty. But I can deal with a certain amount of that because I didn't expect it to be original Star Trek. However, this Discovery stuff is it's like when your man says that this is a spin-off from this is an alternative reality born out of another alternative reality. The first alternative reality was a photocopy of the original, but it was clear enough. Now we're down into the stage where the photocopies are just starting to fucking blur, and it's like I can't recognize that image anymore, and that's pure fucking laziness. And I come back to the Mandalorian, like, you know, what did the Mandalorian do? Like, the Mandalorian's a fucking Western. That's what it is. You're sitting watching a Western, like, right? But they've gone and they've taken an old formula, and they've applied that formula to the lore and all the fucking optics and everything that goes with what we know to be Star Wars, and they've married the two very, very successfully, followed that formula, and made an effort with the fucking story and the writing to tie it in and be authentic. These people have just thrown out the fucking rule book, like, and doing what they want.
So to pull you back in that kind of formulaic fashion, didn't you think Terra Firma parts 1 and 2 were very formulaic in terms of, like, would you do the same thing over again if you had the chance, kind of storyline?
Okay. So if I try to forget what I've seen up until Terra Firma 1 and 2, right? If the season had opened with this, we may not have been so negative in them first few. Like, and I tried to be positive in them first few fucking podcasts we done about the first couple of episodes, right? It's just time has gone on now, and I'm being a little bit more harsh because it's fucking, you know, it's had its chance and it's failed in my book, right? But if it opened with Terra Firma 1 and 2, I might have been more enthusiastic about this. I might have been let down a lot more because there's been an awful lot of shite in this season. But Terra Firma, because it applied a formula, and because the actors had to step up and give a performance, like, you can see that these guys were probably motivating each other because this is the big one. This is the double episode. This is the big one. We always have to have a double episode. And the double episode is almost like a finale in itself. It's one of the build-up moments before we get to the finale, right? It's a key part in terms of a formula for a season, right, is to build up to this thing. And they were double episode traditionally with Star Trek. It's been a good thing. We've seen that fucking they're not afraid to look back to other double episodes like Unification and then try to claim that this is the third part of it and stuff like that. But it shows that they're recognizing that the double episodes were a key point in the story that is trying to be told in that season, right? They latched onto that. And it worked because it's a formula that's tried, tested, and proven. Okay? So anybody you talk to, if they're being honest and fair, looking at this season so far to the point of where we're at, Terra Firma 1 and 2 is by head and shoulders better than any other stuff that we have seen this season. Head and shoulders. Easy. Right?
Head and shoulders. No dandruff. You hear that? No dandruff.
It's miles ahead in terms of delivering what I believe people want to see. It's still nowhere near what we expect, but it's miles ahead of the rest of what we've seen. The other stuff I don't recognize. Terra Firma 1 and 2, I recognized it. It felt a little bit more like Trek. Okay? I can even live with, and even though I get people's point, I can even live with the whole idea of fucking the way it was done, and Burnham has to be in the middle of it all, and all of that there. When Giorgio goes back and all of that at the start of that, and your man, the fucking with the hat and the wee cigar, I can live with how he looks there. You know what I mean? I can live with the fact that they presented him like
Carl.
that. And, you know, Carl. Yeah, I can live with the idea of Carl as a character. Right? You know, all of that there will not bother me if they do it right. The problem is they have just hijacked so many fucking things that are like, you know, it's like they're taking the family fucking silver, like, and they're throwing it around the place having a laugh, you know?
So let me ask you guys this. I want to that kind of brings up an interesting point. I want to go back to kind of Starfleet protocol that was established in the Next Generation. Usually, what happens on a starship is that if there's an away mission, the first officer has to go, and then he or she picks the team to go down to the surface. Now, again, it was kind of screwy in the original series because Shatner needed all his lines, and he had to go on every away mission. But I want to open it up to you guys. They're now in the 32nd century. I would assume that they've brushed up on Starfleet protocol. And again, I want to stick to canon. I don't really want to rant about it's the Michael Burnham show. Like I don't care about that. But don't you think that every away mission should result in like the first officer going down with a hand-picked crew for an away mission?
You're going to get into how the fucking thing actually works. Like, if you're going to dig down into this stuff like that and ask them kind of questions, you need to put this in perspective, right? The reality is how we have progressed as a species, and what a lot of what this show, what Star Trek tries to deal with, is our progression as a species, right? Where we've come from, where we're going to, right? And where we're at now. And to put this in perspective for people, like, we're talking about a gap in our development as distant as the Crusades in human history, right? The technology, how crude the technology was then, how crude our treatment of each other and behavior was then by comparison to now. How we've developed on a range of issues, right? This is not that distant. And, you know, we've said it before about some of the slang that they're using, some of the attitudes, some of the issues that they're facing. In that far-flung future, we should be so fucking far advanced and so far fucking developed, unless there's been... Now, they'll say the burn is probably this catastrophic event that has, I suppose, broke apart the fabric of society to some degree. But that society had developed already in another 800 years or whatever it was, till the point of when the burn happened. Like, the burn, it would not be, when we've discussed all of these other technologies, the burn would not be this catastrophic event to intergalactic civilization. We would be so fucking far advanced and have so much shit figured out by comparison that to where we're at now, and how savage we see the times of when the Crusades were happening, or for that matter, when the Vikings were marauding around the place.
Raptor, what do you think?
Oh. I'm kind of sorry. Just listening to Amorgin.
We all do that.
Yeah, I guess you're gonna have to get me back on
lads,
point.
I'm blushing. I'm gonna go and roll a joint.
Back to my original question. I think Raptor's already high. My original question was, Starfleet protocol dictates that the first officer needs to go on every away mission, or at least pick a team to go on every away mission. And, you know, we can make the case that this is the Michael Burnham show, but it seems that she's on every away mission and she's not the first officer. Or she goes on unsanctioned missions or whatever, right? And you know, is that good form for Starfleet? Is that good form for the show? Does
No, what Starfleet should have done is they should have locked her in a brig the first time she fucking went off on her own, and especially when she took all the ship's dilithium and did that risky maneuver just to just to capture that one guy, so they can do diplomatic solution. Um, and also,
that's the definition of all in.
yeah, and she this whole season, this is what bothers me, is she give, and I'm gonna kind of quote you a little bit. How the fuck do you forget everything Starfleet that was instilled in you your whole life, basically, in a year? Why would you throw that all out the window, especially if you did everything that you did to save Starfleet?
Let's not forget as well, all of her Vulcan fucking training.
Oh
This
God.
girl's an emotional wreck. This girl. How the hell did she survive on Vulcan? How was she not fucking? How was she not excluded from society? How was she not sent back to Earth with a bag packed and went? No, you're not going to manage here. You're too emotional.
How'd she get accepted to the Vulcan Academy?
Exactly. Where's all of her Vulcan? Like we work on a presumption that she had serious Vulcan training here. Vulcan
I'm not seeing
training's no
anything
fucking.
Vulcan about her.
Where's all the like apart from the Starfleet training? Where's the Vulcan training? Like it's just.
And the Discovery apologists, they like the fact that she shows emotion. Now, whether
If
again,
you need a character that shows emotion, give us a different character. If you're going to
Don't
make
give
them
her the
Vulcan, make
backstory
them
of a
Vulcan.
Vulcan.
well, she had to be a backstory of Vulcan because she's Spock's sister, and she has to go make peace with the Vulcan Romulan people.
This is Frankenstein's monster, lad. Like this has been pieced together from dead pieces of other things.
But if you look at Star Trek starting from Enterprise all the way up, they've been emotionalizing the Vulcans. I mean, Vulcans in the original series were just very matter of fact, and then
Evil robots.
and then you keep moving
Evil-looking
forward.
robots.
You keep moving forward through the next generation. You look at Deep Space Nine. You look at even Voyager. I mean, Vulcans are still Vulcans. Then you get into Enterprise, and they're smartasses. They hold grudges, and
You had the Vocless with the Vulcans that practice emotion.
where they embrace emotional responses. But you look at it, I mean, they've just been softening up the Vulcans the entire time. And even in the newer Trek movies, the reboots, which I enjoyed, Spock did a really great job, but even Spock was a little over emotional. And there were some times in the movies that Spock did get a little bit emotional, of course. But overall, I mean, you take T'Pol as a smartass and always showing
The original
emotion.
Spock never cried. He may have showed a little bit of emotion, but he always kept his composure.
Well, there's what I'm saying is that they've slowly here in the past 20 years they've slowly been turning Vulcans into basically humans with pointy ears, and I don't like it. But there you go.
To be fair, now this might not be popular with you guys. I don't know. But to be fair, the Abrams films, Zachary Quinto's thing, and the whole premise there that Kirk has to emotionally compromise him to gain command. I think they explain that pretty well in terms of how a Vulcan can have emotion.
Oh yeah, and even
I think
even
they tied
Leonard
them loose ends a wee bit up.
When they had Leonard Nimoy, somebody said something about, well, he's pretty emotional and blah 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 blah. Well, if you look at his character progression throughout the show, the original series, and the movies, he's begun to embrace more and more with the emotions. He's still calm and collective, but he is understanding joking and little one-liners and things like that. So, as old as he is, and as far beyond the original series era as he appeared in that universe, excuse me, because the Spock that we saw in the 2009 reboot was a Spock that was even older than the Next Generation. That was beyond the Next Generation timeline, and that was in between. That was Spock around the time when the big evacuation of Romulus was going on because of the star that went supernova. So Spock's had all this time to embrace emotions and learn to be okay with joking and being a little more lighthearted and smiling. You know, when he said when he says something, when Kirk says something to him and Spock turns around, he kind of half smiles just a little bit, and he said, "A trick I learned from an old friend." So that is okay. I understand that, but Vulcans holding grudges and being assholes for just because that's not Vulcans.
Actually, I think the biggest the biggest flaw I've ever seen in a Vulcan was Chancellor Vloss in Enterprise. I mean, he was downright yelling because he couldn't get Enterprise away fast enough so he could bomb the Cyranites.
Yep.
So the Picard series basically starts with the storyline.
When did this
during that
podcast end? Because
thing.
we've just been rambling.
I don't know.
Basically, after Amorgin started talking.
We've just been going around in circles here.
Well, I'm trying to bring it back to Discovery because that's what we've been talking about. But we kind of go off topic, and that's okay. I mean, I'm sure some people will agree with our points, some people won't. And that's like I said, I've been talking to a lot of people on the Star Trek Discord in the past few days. Those who like Discovery and those who, and truly trying to understand why some people like Discovery, and again, we have to understand, right? The four of us here, straight white males, we're not the representation that I think Discovery's trying to target right now.
Right, and I'm even okay with that. I'm not okay with deliberately excluding any particular demographic. That's racism, right? Or prejudice of some kind, right? If you make a mistake without thinking about it, that's forgivable, right? Because everybody lives in their own fucking world. But, like, to deliberately exclude a demographic, that's wrong. So I don't like the possibility that might exist. But can I live with not seeing my demographic on the screen? Of course I fucking can. But make it fucking engaging.
Right. Or, and there are ways to bridge certain gaps, and I was, like I said, I was talking to guys, and look, I'm not a fan of anything that has been produced by J.J. Abrams or Alex Kurtzman. Like, there was a time I got into Fringe for a little bit, and that kind of really, turned me off. I used to enjoy Alias for a bit, but it got kind of boring because they were reusing storylines. So I'm not a fan of their style. I'm not a fan of their directing. I'm not a fan of their writing. So naturally,
I like
the extension is. Did they do Transformers?
I believe J.J. Abrams did.
All right. Well, I thought it was Jerry Bruckheimer that did Transformers.
I want to see. Any of you guys remember Celebrity Deathmatch?
Yes.
Yeah, you guys remember that? I want to see J.J. Abrams and let me see Quentin Tarantino. Celebrity Deathmatch over Star Trek.
That's what we need. Great. We need a Quentin Tarantino Star Trek.
That would be with Stone Cold Steve Austin as a special guest. Right?
It would be a million miles away from traditional Trek, but you can be damn sure you're going to watch that. And that's what we got with The Mandalorian, I think, anyway.
The Mandalorian reminds me of Firefly. The setting, the Western style feel.
You mean that's when Joss Whedon had a good streak?
I mean, just that type of feel where it's futuristic, but not everything's shiny. Yeah. Stuff can still be shitty in the future and broken and not work very well.
No lens flares?
No, it doesn't have to be shiny, right? Like,
even if it's shiny, give it to us in an authentic way. Like Blade Runner, there's a dirty, gritty slum in the future as well. I'm fine with that. You know?
All right, so coming back
Oh,
to
no mind. It was Michael Bay for Transformers. I had to fact check myself.
there you go. I thought Michael Bay was the director and the producer was Jerry Bruckheimer.
You could be right.
Okay. Anyways, coming back to Discovery, Terra Firma Part 2, right? Which was, I think we're all in consensus that we all really liked it because it was a tried and true episode. What would you do if you rehashed it based on the growth of the character? And here's another issue that I have with the show, Discovery as a whole, is that they're taking the best element of the show and making a new show out of it. For example, I think Anson Mount did a phenomenal job as Captain Pike, and I really feel like he kept Burton check. They had a very good Spock type of relationship where it really plays well on screen. But what do they do?
Seeing the straight white male put manners on the strong ethnic female.
No. What I'm saying is, if you have a strong kind of
alpha
that's
character
lead,
in the modern world.
What's up?
That's sacrilege in the modern era. Can't say things like that.
It doesn't. No. I'm not saying that because he was a strong white male actor. I'm just saying an alpha personality with another alpha personality that are kind of diatomically opposed kind of work together.
Amorgin's just taking the piss and putting you on.
Oh, of course he is. That's what he does. That's his thing. Like, for example, okay, Voyager. Janeway was a complete alpha female. You do not want to lock horns with Janeway. She will chew your ass out. That's what made her character a leader, in that sense, right? So and I've mentioned this before, when you have a Discovery that's full of Reginald Barclays and Wesley Crushers, and nobody's an alpha personality, well, you're not going to pay attention to anybody on the crew. The most alpha that anybody's on the ship right now is with Giorgio leaving is Stamets. He's not captain. So like, but that dynamic of an alpha personality and another alpha personality kind of, when they're butting heads, kind of works. It's a tried and true formula. But they took Pike and they made a new show out of it, and they took another alpha personality, Giorgio, who doesn't take crap from anybody, and they're making another show out of her. And that's kind of what I have a problem with. I mean, I think it would have been awesome if there was a way that you could get Giorgio, Lorca, and Pike kind of in the same scene or in the same season, if you will, right, of one show.
I'm going to say something. I'm going to say before the end of this season, and I don't think it's going to happen. And I don't know if I'll have the appetite for another season to wait for it. Is what I think would work, what I could live with seeing a bit more of, is Stamets captaining the ship. To see that chain of command in operation, to see him stepping up and taking... to be fair to Stamets' character, he does have a couple of decent put-downs. He has one-liners that he delivers there that conveys what... he's a believable character. I've met guys like Stamets, in real life, right? And they're strong-willed sort of characters that I have respect for, because they're not pussies. They're not, they will stand their ground. They mightn't be the strongest bastard in the world. In a fist fight, he mightn't win, but he's strong. I have respect for that, and I'd like to see Stamets in the chair, lead a Discovery crew, see them all with their bullshit, and see him put them down. Because, to be fair to Saru, Saru's too nice a guy, to be a captain. If there was something I wanted to see before this season ends, I'd like to see Stamets in the chair and give him an episode where he can boss everybody.
So Stamets would be the captain, but also piloting the ship to the navigation.
Somebody else sits in that chair when he has to sit in a different chair. That's the way that works.
They can easily get a deer to do that. I'm pretty sure. It's how to do gravity matter stuff.
We've seen Scotty command the Enterprise on occasion. You know what I mean?
Yes, yeah, that is true.
I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Let's take I just want to take a moment to ask you guys, who do you think's more jacked? Culber or Book?
Oh, Culber by far. If I had to give a man one, it'd be Culber before it would be Book.
Culber's jacked.
I'd say I would say Culber as well.
Pity, you see, pity Jansen wasn't here. Jansen would give you a proper opinion, like.
I don't give a fuck how pretty they are. I'm talking about Jack. But Culber is absolutely a fucking good-looking dude. So
yeah, like if somebody had to climb into bed beside you, like I'd rather Culber climb into bed beside me, like
This one.
I'd give him 5 minutes. Like I'd give him 5 minutes, where Buck would be like, "What the fuck are you at? Get out of my fucking bed!"
Oh, that
I was just
used
talking
to white
about,
boys.
I was just talking about Jack.
Wow, just wow, you guys. This is the problem of not having Jansen around, because he'd jump all over this.
I'd say jump all over Culber too.
I will.
No, his partner wouldn't be having that now. In fairness, now he's very
staying with him, probably
like,
kick his ass.
Disclaimer.
Oh my god, you guys are fucked.
No, man, they're not fucked. They're jacked.
Culber's jacked,
that's
man. That's what I was. That's all I asked.
Those two have been one of my favorite characters of the whole Discovery. The Culber and Stamens.
Oh,
that
Culber
storyline,
one of my favorites,
has been very well, and I kind of like the fact that they're kind of acting like a parenting couple towards what's her name?
Adira.
Adira, yeah.
I just, man, I just hated the fact that they killed the guy off and then they brought him back in the dumbest way possible.
Well, at least they brought him back.
Well, no, I know that, right? But still, it's just like, what? First of all, he died in an idiotic way.
I love how he kicked Ash Tyler's ass too.
Right after Ash Tyler snapped his neck. I guess that mycelial network really put some meat on your bones, right? It's weird. It's weird.
Let's just say this: in a real life fight, Culber would fuck pretty much anybody on that setup. Like I said, look how jacked he is.
Yeah, I think you're right.
He's super jacked. All right, on that final note, Terra Firma parts 1 and 2. I think we all universally agree, and I think we agree, and we're all pretty much Star Trek Discovery detractors. I think we agree that Star Trek Discovery can be good. It has the potential to be good because they've shown that, even old hardcore non-Abrams Trek fans will eat this stuff up. So kudos to whoever wrote those episodes.
I'm not going to say good, but I would say mad decent.
Mad decent. In Kirk's book, that might just as well be good. Any final thoughts on Star Trek Discovery Terra Firma parts 1 and 2 before we take off? Start with Raptor. Final thoughts?
I'll end on a good note, I guess, for Discovery. I thought they did very well with it. I hope and pray that they continue on with that kind of story writing. And so, yeah, I mean, if you don't watch any of the other Discoveries, which I wouldn't blame you, I do recommend watching Terra Firma Part 1 and 2.
You won't know what the fuck's going on in the show, but you should enjoy it.
Kirk?
Yeah.
How about you? Final thoughts on Terra Firma 1 and 2?
No. Amorgin? Final thoughts?
Like I said, lads, I'm done with it. Like, I will watch the other episodes, but it's not on my radar to be looking out for it. They had an opportunity with Terra Firma 1 and 2 to sell me on the last couple of episodes. The last bit that we're going to see or whatever. Like, they failed. Like, it didn't grab me enough. The Mandalorian finale was out there in terms of competing for my attention for wanting me to be following this and looking out for this and recommending this to my friends and saying, shit, did you see the latest episode of that? I sent text messages to a bunch of people about The Mandalorian, and I'd received text messages of people who'd seen it before me saying, don't let anybody spoil this, blah, 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 you know, all of this. People were talking about it. I was talking to my friends about it, and we were talking in a positive way about it. Discovery isn't even on my fucking radar because anybody that I talk to or ever have that Trek or not, Star Wars or not, like just the nerds that are out there, they're either like us, deliberately making an effort to watch this so that we can come and do this podcast and talk about it. But it's increasingly just, we're talking about how it feels. Fair dues to Jansen and all the rest of it. We're coming to the end of this series of podcasts on Discovery. You know, it won't be long before we're done and we're going, right, what's next or whatever. There's lads that's come in here and have taken a positive attitude to this and adopted a positive approach to it and tried to give a good view on it and all. Terra Firma 1 and 2, like I said, it's streets ahead of what we've seen so far, but it wasn't enough to grab me back in and make me go, holy shit. What time is the next one on? You know, fuck, I have to set my alarm for that.
Well, fair enough. That's good criticism. I can only say that I just hope that by the time they reveal what the burn is, I just hope it's not something really, really dumb to where it just ignores all sense of science or rationality or reason. Since there have been a lot of the original series hints, for some reason, the original series in the 2300s makes a presence in the 32nd century is kind of weird, but I just hope it's not something where, you know, you go to an obscure Star Trek the original series episode and it's some throwaway episode and that's the cause for the burn. That's my only hope. Terra Firma 1 and 2 was good. It was a good rehashing of kind of like the TNG episode where Picard gets killed. But yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. And hey, you know, it's Star Trek, and we'll watch it because it's Star Trek. That's all it is.
I just wish Discovery would stop throwing in original series hints just so that you can make it feel like it's Star Trek. They should try to make it feel like Star Trek with what they already have.
Yeah.
Right. I completely agree with you. They have to find their own identity. All right, guys, I thank you very much for joining me today. RapterPvP, Strange, Kirk, and Amorgin. This has been Trek Talk with Tech and Kirk. I'm Techman16.
And the original series did not take place in the 2300s.
We'll discuss that next time.